Are we going? Oh, right away, off the bat.
We're live. I mean,
Oh, F it. We'll do it live.
there we go.
So we're live on YouTube right now.
I see us live in 4K. Well, not really in 1080p technically.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. As always, welcome to the Worstest Podcast on the interwebs. This is the 4th and 1 podcast coming to you live from Lidditz, Pennsylvania. I am your host, Captain Boring. Along with me is my sidekick, Sergeant Cocaine. I don't have a good nickname for
Captain
you.
Cocaine would be well, that'd be alliteration, but that's just me.
All right. Well, it is the last week of the regular season.
Rivalry weekend, baby.
Rivalry weekend 13. I was blazing hot last week. I'm going to let you know right off the bat, I did absolutely no preparation. So we're going to have a chill little episode for you today. We will review last week, but the preview this week, it's going to take me like 5 minutes to do. So I'm not going to be too boring, so that Simeon should enjoy that a lot. But anyway, last week I went 7-1. I'm a blazing 44-27 on the year, so make sure you get your bets in. I will give you my picks for Saturday, of course, and then we'll go from there. Also, it's Black Friday football today, baby. Black Friday college football produces some of the best college football games of the year. So here we are. We are ready to go. We are the Worstest Podcast on the interwebs. We are doing it live for the first time. Do we got no sound bites live? Is that how this is working?
Oh, I actually hit one, but
because it's garbage.
I just forgot to make the slide. I pulled a Captain Boring over here.
Well, before speaking of because it's garbage, he's got a big game. He's got the ABC primetime game this week.
Is it not the Red River?
It's Bedlam. Bedlam. Yep, it's Oklahoma State. Listen, everyone's looking at Jim Harbaugh being 0-5 against Ohio State. Do you know what Mike Gundy's record is against Oklahoma?
0-10.
Nope.
2-8.
Oh, well, you got the 2 right. 2-14.
I don't know how long he's been a head coach.
It's been a while. It's been a while. Plus, they met, I think, 1 year in the championship. So they met like twice 1 year. So listen, it's not just Harbaugh struggling with the creme de la creme of college football. Now, this year's a little bit different. Oklahoma's clearly having a down year. Why Ohio State might be the best team in the country. At least they looked that way last week, which we'll get into in here just a minute. But why don't we start with the little check down action?
You think our whistle sound effects works?
I don't know.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, right, it doesn't.
Why?
Yay! So, the Big 12 reprimands the Texas Tech University announcer for basically calling it like it is, okay? Basically, this announcer, after Texas Tech last week was playing Iowa State, got hosed on a few calls. Or actually, this was 2 weeks ago now. They called out all the referees by name, which I guess is a big no-no. They said, I'll say it right now, the Big 12 does not want Iowa State to lose this game. Yeah, Bob Blowsby, which is a referee, you need to answer this. This is ridiculous. The inconsistency of this referee crew in favor of Iowa State, unbelievable. Texas Tech students began throwing trash on the field after an interception that was overturned. Apparently, I saw the interception, shouldn't have been overturned, much like the Michigan State situation. He went on to say the Big 12 should be embarrassed. The Big 12 should be embarrassed with this group. We've only pointed out 2 guys. I'm going to read them all to you, and then proceeded to read and name all of the referees on the list. Here's the thing. Referees have been put on this pedestal, in my personal opinion, that you have to respect no matter what they say. Here's the thing. Referees are far too important to the game to make critical mistakes, especially when there is review involved. I understand if it's a non-reviewable play and they mess it up, things happen. But then when you get review involved, review is supposed to be their safety net. And the replay official has absolutely been garbage this year. They've been inserting themselves into games many a times. It's not just been Texas Tech and Iowa State. It's not just been Michigan State. It's been some other games I've seen this year. Ohio State, Penn State, they made a mistake. It's referee, the replay official needs to not insert himself into game, just be that safety net to catch mistakes. Simeon, I know that we both don't like referees, so I'm just going to assume that you just...
Yeah, I mean, Pat McAfee had, who's the guy for Fox on?
Well,
Mike
it's
Patricia?
it's Dean Blandino and Mike Patricia, yeah.
Mike Patricia, he's the former...
Or not Mike Patricia, it's, I forget his name. Mike...
Yeah. He was the former VP of refs or something like that.
Yes. Well, they both were, but yes.
So he had him on, and he was saying kind of the same thing. He said more that the video, we'll call him what it is. The video assistant referee has been more of a, they've been using it more of a crutch than they have what's on the field. And honestly, again, I'll say it again, soccer really seems to have this down the best. They implemented basically reviews, I don't know, 2 years ago. 3 years ago, well, no, probably 4 years ago now. It was trash the first year. They immediately fixed it. It was way better. And if you're complaining about it as a soccer fan, okay, I get it because of, you know, everything. But it's much better where, listen, unless that person calls down to the field and says, this is the call or I'm reviewing this, then the play continues, and that's how it should be for the NFL and for the NCAA.
Well, that is how it should be that is how it is in the NCAA. The review, every play is reviewed, and so it has to be initiated by the booth, unless if it's a coach's challenge.
Right.
But here's the thing: those referees, the video assistants, whatever you want to call them. First of all, the game moves. These college offenses are so used to going fast that sometimes they don't get to look at it. But then also, like in the Michigan-Nebraska game, there was a play that Michigan huddles. Well, they do like a muddle. They kind of just stand around to get the call in, but they don't go fast. And so this play went against them. And so they're waiting for the replay official to review it. And then later in the game, this happened with Nebraska, and they're waiting for the official and they never did. And it was blatantly obvious that they should have been reviewing it. So Harbaugh had to take a timeout and use one of his challenges that he got back later because they realized they made a mistake. But it's been the Big 12 and the Big 10. Their officiating crews, especially the video assistants, have just been absolute garbage this year. You can hit that soundbite if you want.
I do have that, but it's at the top.
There it is.
There you go.
All right, so more firings, and this one's a doozy. Dan Mullins has been fired from Florida, the University of Florida. This comes off of a overtime loss to Missouri, who's a very mediocre team in the SEC. So I thought Dan Mullins was only there for like 2 years. He's been there for 4 already. Here's the thing. He's been in a New Year's 6 the last 3 years. This was his down year. It was bound to happen. They had so much offensive talent and defensive talent leave last year after they lost in a close game. Here's the thing. From what I'm hearing, reading on ESPN mainly, okay, I don't have sources, he's not a great recruiter. So the talent gap is far below Texas A&M, Alabama, and Georgia, which you have to at least be close to them, but they're far below. And Mullins, what the culture there is a lot of, we have nothing to play for, we're done. Players check out and leave. It's a lot like the LSU culture right now. Yeah. So like last year, they lost to Alabama. They didn't go to Natty. They got a New Year's 6 bowl game, Cotton Bowl. Listen, against Cincinnati, or not Cincinnati, but against some other team, you gotta go. Like, these games mean something. New Year's 6 games mean something. If you want to not go to the Iowa Potato Idaho Bowl in Boise, Idaho, go for it.
In Boise, Idaho.
But this is a New Year's 6. You are right around New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, right somewhere around there. You got to play those games. Listen, scouts are at those games. These are high-profile games. 9 players checked out last year after they had 2 losses this year to Bama and another team. Then a whole bunch of other teams a whole bunch of players checked out. It's been a mess. So, like, I understand the firing, but also we talked about this a few weeks ago. You got to give these coaches time. There's so much turnover, especially at the college level, that you're going to have down years. Now, I'm glad that Harbaugh, you could have fired Harbaugh last year. Again, I'm equivalent it back there. They were 2-6 last year. Harbaugh this year, he's 10-1 going into Ohio State. Like, a huge turnaround. Sometimes
they
you
played
just
Oklahoma last year, by the way.
Okay, thank you. Sometimes you just got to get you got to change the staff. You got to bring in, you got to rejuvenate. You got to get the leaders who are underclassmen to be upperclassmen. Like, sometimes it just takes time. Now, with the recruiting thing, I think that they really looked at that for this, and they just want sustained success. That's what the AD said. But here's the problem. They've had 4 coaches in 8 years. 4. Like that, you're not going to have sustained success when you constantly are turning over the coaching staff every time something goes wrong.
Well, and don't forget that this is you mentioned this earlier. Sorry, that's what I'm saying. Don't forget about how when we found out the number of the Bobby Bonilla outstanding money.
Oh yeah, the
NCAA
$500 million. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous, and you mentioned that before. 100%, you need to have some consistency in order. I mean, look at Oklahoma State as a perfect example. Pat Fitzgerald's a perfect example up at Northwestern. You
have down years sometimes, but it's about how you rebound from those down years. You look at your mistakes. Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State's a perfect example. Paul Chryst, listen, things were going really wrong in Wisconsin. They were 1-3. They've ripped off 7 straight wins. If they win on Saturday, they are going to the Big Ten championship game to take on Ohio State. Let's just call it what it is. Spoiler alert. And they got a shot to go to the Rose Bowl this year. So it's all about how you get these kids when there's nothing, and I use air quotes for those viewing us on YouTube on this Black Friday. It's about how when you're playing for nothing, can you get the kids to be like, oh no, there is still stuff to play for. Like, Wisconsin can make and win a Rose Bowl yet.
Right.
That is sacred. That is probably the most sacred bowl game out of all the bowl games, the Rose Bowl. And so they still have stuff to play for. Michigan, even with a loss this week to Ohio State, will still have a New Year's 6. So I'm hoping that Hutchinson and Ojabo don't opt out. Although I understand because they are top 10 picks, so you might want to preserve. I mean, that's a lot of money. Yeah, that's a lot of money to give up.
So like now with the new CBA,
right, I understand that, but the rest of the Michigan squad, I expect to be there and be square.
Yeah, somebody who got a big name who got an extension. One of the big names that got the extension was I just heard James Franklin up at PSU.
So it's 10 years.
Big money. 10 years, $75 million, I think?
Yeah, it's 10 years, $75 million. Here's why they did that.
Guaranteed $7 million a year.
Yeah, with a $500,000 bonus if he stays with the team. So he gets that bonus each year on January 1st, right? So if he's still with the team, so it's basically $7.5 million a year as long as he's there. Here's the thing. Here's why they did that. His buyout is going from $20-some million, which it is right now.
Yeah.
In 3 years, it's going to be 2. So this is basically, we can't fire you. We can't fire you now because we're not paying you $20-some million. But in 3 years, if things trend the same way they are trending, which is basically mediocre, right? You're losing to Michigan. You're losing to Michigan State. Basically every other year, and
you're Illinois.
You're losing to Illinois, and you're not beating Ohio State, which is no one's going to blame anyone for losing to Ohio State. But in 3 years, if mediocre continues, then we're just gonna fire you, or you can leave, and teams will come gobble you up.
Get this copy of it straight. Sorry.
You know who else has got a big extension?
I don't.
Mel Tucker.
Mel,
Mel Tucker, coach of Michigan State.
sorry, there
So,
we go. Yes.
so
that was
he
right.
signed a 10-year, $95 million deal right after the absolute beatdown that Ohio State gave him, and that'll end the check down. We can jump right into it. Also, Jason Garrett, the offensive coordinator of the Giants, got fired. Well, he shouldn't have gotten that job. Anyway, okay. So we will move on here to last week, and we can start with Ohio State, Michigan State.
But before we do that,
Go for it.
We were at the Maryland-Michigan game last week where we were on the road. We said that last week in the podcast. Good time. Just wanted to give everybody an update. Good time. Left in the third quarter because Michigan was blowing it.
Well,
got made fun of by my fiance by the end of the third quarter. Yes.
end of the third quarter, yes.
Got made fun of my fiance for not being true fans, by the way, for doing that.
It's cold and it was 52-18. They were absolutely wrecking Maryland. Why would we stay?
I'm aware. And we were also, and it was also an away game. Like, come on. If it was a home game, okay, maybe I would understand it a little bit more. But they literally, as we were walking down, great stadium, pretty good fans. Maryland, you're not really a football school, but you're a football school, so you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, great stadium, beautiful sunset that we were at. Great, I liked the seats. We were in the upper deck. Literally, as we were walking down, they scored another touchdown. So, like, did Michigan score the most points last week? And
They may have.
I think
yeah.
they did.
Yeah.
They were close. There was a lot of teams.
And this goes back to your point a few weeks ago when I was bragging on the Ohio State offense. And at this point, they had only played like Rutgers and Maryland. And you go, it's Maryland.
It's Maryland.
Everyone can score on Maryland.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Don't run man-to-man coverage if you don't have the athletes to keep up.
So I guess good job, Maryland, and we're moving on.
So we didn't exactly get to see we didn't get to see much of the Ohio State-Michigan State game. However, there wasn't much to see. By the time we got to the game, which was like, or tailgating, which was like 12:30, it was already 14-0. It was a rout of its finest. It was over before you even, like, the midway through the second quarter, it was over. It was 49-0 at halftime. It ended up 56-7. I expected it to be a close game. I believe I said last week. I didn't even hit the over, which was my lock of the week, which was my only loss from last week. So there's not much I can say. Ohio State, though, when you're facing the worst pass defense in the country and you are the best passing offense, arguably the best passing offense in the country, there's gonna be some letdown, and I just expected Michigan State to kind of run the ball with Kenneth Walker. Here's the thing that I found out earlier in the week. Michigan State's first 4 drive, Kenneth Walker got the ball a grand total of 4 times. Absolutely unacceptable. Like, if I'm Mel Tucker, you better sign that. I'm glad you signed that extension because there's some big questions in East Lansing this week. Like, why didn't Kenneth Walker, your Heisman hopeful, touch the ball 4 times on the first drive? Like, I understand people are in the box. I don't care. Michigan loaded the box, and it didn't matter. He'll make people miss. CJ Stroud was unbelievable. He was 32 of 35 for 432 yards and 6 touchdowns. Mel Tucker, you didn't earn that contract. So CJ Stroud is now the betting favorite in Vegas to win the Heisman. I told you a few weeks ago he was my front runner for the Heisman. He's got 2 weeks to really solidify himself. This week against Michigan, if he puts up similar numbers, basically just book it. And then next week against Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game. The other guy CJ is competing with right now is Bryce Young, the quarterback for Alabama, who set a single game passing record for Bama with 559 yards passing and 5 touchdowns against Arkansas in a close 7-point win. So that is why Ohio State jumped Alabama in this week's rankings. Can you pull those up for me, by the way? Like I said,
100%.
I did no prep this week. It's Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Cincy, Michigan, Notre Dame, Oklahoma State, Ole Miss, who got
Close. Ole Miss is 9.
Baylor.
Yeah, there you go.
Baylor, Ole Miss. Who's 10?
Boomer Sooner.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Okay, so hey, my knowledge is well, no one's arguing my knowledge at this point, or no one should. So those are the top 10 ranking. It's very similar to actually my top 10 last week. Hence minus Michigan State and Oregon, which we'll get.
Also, Roadrunners, baby.
Oh!
UTSA 11-0.
Yeah.
They were looking a little bit sketch against UAB at the beginning, and then they came back and just absolutely annihilated them.
They did. It was nice. They didn't annihilate. They got a last minute touchdown
That's right,
that
sorry.
you didn't see, but I saw on College Football Final. It was tipped. Like the quarterback was rolling out and it was like 2 seconds left, so he just quick threw it to the end zone. The linebacker, if he was 2 inches taller, would have been an interception, and the Roadrunners, UTSA, would have been handed their first loss. But it made it over. So good on UTSA's. I spoke about Oregon. Oregon absolutely got dominated at the line of scrimmage last week against Utah. Not much to say there. That's literally exactly what happened. If you turned on that game, it was early, it was often, it was Utah. It was, we're going to run the football. And Oregon prides itself to be a line of scrimmage team, both offensively and defensively, and they were not. They got pushed around. Here's the thing. They get round 2 next week against Utah. So Utah is fighting for Rose Bowl. So is Oregon. No longer college football playoff. So that's 2 conferences eliminated. That's the ACC and the Pac-12 eliminated, which is good news for Cincinnati, as that's another conference eliminated, which makes their path easier. Speaking of Cincinnati, because Michigan did not jump them, because Cincinnati finally looked like the number 4 team in the country. They blew out an 8-2 SMU team, 49-11, I believe it was. It wasn't even close. Cincinnati really dominated. Cincinnati has one of the best pass defenses in all of football, or all of college football.
48-14, by the way.
48-14. I was close. They have one of the best pass defenses, and in an SMU team that basically is an air raid team, so they just throw the ball around. They don't really run it all that often. That's just how these type of air raid offenses are constructed. That really didn't bode well. And then SMU gives up like 450 yards of offense a game on defense. And so Cincinnati, just mediocre as they are, they just did what they do. Notre Dame, again, we said they were sitting there at 6. They're starting to figure things out. They're starting to run the football with effectively, which is opening up the play action for Jack Cohn. They are number 6. There is a path in. If Cincinnati loses one of the 2 games this weekend and next weekend, and then Michigan and Ohio State will figure each other out. And if Alabama loses to Georgia in the SEC title game, Notre Dame could find itself in for a 2nd straight year, or a 3rd straight year, I believe. So they would be going up against the 1 seed.
Talk about a coach with consistency. Sorry,
yes. Yeah, Brian Kelly, excellent. Way to bring up that point.
Up, down, but consistent nonetheless. And Cincinnati does have a tougher team in the East Carolina Pirates, Arg Métis. Pretty similar statistics here, but Cincinnati plays more defense. So we'll have to see.
What is the spread on that game?
Oh, not close. It's 14 points.
But again,
I'm just saying,
they
can't sit back. Luke Fickell needs to make sure they don't sit back,
because, like, say if Cincinnati wins like a 1-point game, and then Michigan this week, like, it would be 2 losses. It would be a hard argument to make. But okay, let's take it away. Notre Dame, then
it's hard not to put Notre Dame in if the Bearcats lose.
Yeah. Oh, if the Bearcats lose, they're out.
Right.
The only way the Bearcats are in is because the ACC and the Pac-12 both are gone, and the Big 12 champ will at least have 1 loss.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to here in a minute. Speaking of the Big 12, though, Bohannon went out with an injury in the first half with Baylor, which is why Baylor was a close win against Kansas State last week.
Mm-hmm.
Baylor has to win this week against Kansas State and they're in. So how this is going to work out for the Big 12, Bedlam is if Oklahoma wins, they're in. Oklahoma State's already in. So if Oklahoma wins, they are also in because they hold the tiebreaker. But if Oklahoma loses, they have to also hope that Baylor loses to be in. So Baylor needs a little help because Oklahoma still controls their own destiny there. But this is big news because if their quarterback, who's been consistent all year when he doesn't turn the ball over, Gary Bohannon, if he is out, like they're playing Kansas State this weekend. Kansas State took Oklahoma to the brink. Oklahoma State, like they're a good football team. So Oklahoma and Oklahoma State might just be for bragging rights come 7:30 because that game's a noon kickoff. Baylor and Kansas State this weekend. Oklahoma State, their defense rolls on. They got Oklahoma this week. We'll get into that. Harbaugh, this might be, we talked about this a little bit, not on the podcast, but kind of in person last week. This might be Harbaugh's best team.
Mm-hmm.
Be all the things that they're doing, the straight, however many straight wins they had, and the first time they're 10-1 is all for the first time since 2016. Some of the other stats that they've had this year, some of the team stats are all for the first time since 2016. So people are equating this team to the 2016 team. They're a little different because I think 2021 this team has a little more backbone to them. They want the adversity. They're okay with the adversity. When the adversity comes, they're just like, okay, just something else we got to fight through. And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So I think this team is just a tad better. Also, they have two legitimate pass rushers. That 16 team was more, they got it. It was more like a spread out via all four defensive linemen. Here's a problem. The 2016 Ohio State team was way worse than the 2021 Ohio State team. The Ohio State team, this Ohio State team, like I said, I hope that it works out that the semifinal is Georgia and Ohio State somehow. I just somehow hope because first of all, I don't want Ohio State to get a shot at winning the Natty because it just the Big Ten conference, it will be over forever there. But I want to see this pass defense for Georgia go up against this pass offense for Ohio State.
Ohio State allows 355 yards a game.
Yeah, but do you see how many?
Only 19 points.
Yeah.
But this is one of Ohio State's worst defenses.
Yeah. The 16 defense, it was a lot better defensively, but they average like 550 yards of offense.
Yeah, 560 yards of offense. We'll be nice and give them the extra half yard of offense. Yeah, no. The offense makes up for the defense. Let me give you. This is how Michigan wins this game.
Okay.
Before we move on, this is how Michigan wins this game.
Great.
First of all, they're at home. Big advantage for Michigan.
That's not a real grenade, everyone. Just to be.
Oh yeah, no. This is a fake. This is just a little thing that the top comes.
I'm not really sure anyone thought that, but I just figure I'd throw that in there before we get canceled.
We
are live. Yeah.
Just to make sure.
Yeah.
So that's step number one.
Okay.
Step number one, get a home game. Step number two, have the momentum for the team, aka if you don't like momentum, basically have the character of the team that the team has this year. Okay.
Have a big win before the week before, and they have a come from behind win in Happy Valley the week before that, so they have momentum. Yep, gotcha.
Okay. Step number 3 is going to be defense.
Pass rushers.
You have to make sure Ajabo and Hutchinson get to Stroud. If you can shut down C.J. Stroud, you're going to shut down the rest of the team. Again, who is it? T. Henderson, Travion. Sorry, I'm stuck with names. Travion. I apologize.
Yeah, he got Devontae Smith wrong like a million times, like last week.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's averaging the same number as Haskins. They're only averaging less than 200 yards rushing a game.
That is Michigan's defensive weakness, by the way, the rush defense.
Yeah. So, but Michigan is only allowing 128 yards of rushing a game. So you really got to make sure the ball stays on the ground for Michigan.
Make them earn it.
Make them earn it. Another one is special teams. So special teams / turnovers. Okay. A, if you can flip the field and make them drive. B, 1 or 2 turnovers, an INT, a forced fumble or fumble recovery is huge. Lastly,
Need at least 2.
at least 2. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, you against this Ohio State squad, Michigan needs at least 2 turnovers to.
And you have to convert those to points. I don't care if they're
Yes.
field goals, but you have to
Yeah.
convert them to points.
One needs to be a touchdown, one can be a field goal. Yep.
Preferably, yeah. Both B touchdowns would be huge. That's going to give you a huge upside. And the last thing is stay away from the penalties. Michigan's been pretty good this year.
Yes, they have.
Okay, but this is a rivalry game. One of the videos that went was a couple years ago because Michigan has a shared tunnel. So Michigan
Yep.
Stadium has a shared tunnel. It's
One
tunnel
way in, one way out.
And Michigan's locker room is towards the front of the tunnel, the front of the exit of the tunnel. And there was a video that went viral this year of security and Michigan coaches having to hold back the players as Ohio State was coming out. They're gonna get booed. Michigan, stay away from the penalties. Keep it in your stay straight. Just play them on the field. Play them hard. No offense to Ohio State, they really haven't had any challenges this year, and the challenges that they have had was Oregon, and they didn't look that good. If you get another mental Oregon game, and that was a home game for them,
Yep.
but if you get another mental home game for Ohio State, you have a chance. You're 7.5 points. I'm not 100% sure I like that spread. I'd be close. Well, that's okay. That's a betting spread. I think this game's more like 6.5. I know that's only a point difference. Over under 34. Do you like that? I'm not
The
sure I
over
like
under
that.
is not. It's 64.
Oh, sorry, 64. I apologize, guys. It's 64. Do you like that? I'm not sure I like that.
I think that's a little high for me. Here's
Yeah.
the thing: Ohio State, as long as their defense shows up, they don't have to be good, but they just have to be good enough. Michigan's going to score on Ohio State. That my issue is not with Michigan's offense as it has been in years past. It is the running defense of Michigan and then the pass offense of Ohio State.
Yeah.
You cannot. So Michigan, a couple years ago, 18 or 19, in the last 2 meetings, I gave this stat to mom yesterday. In the last 2 meetings, Michigan has lost by an average of 22 points, and in those 2 games, 18 and 19, they've given up an average of 59 points a game and almost 600 yards of offense. In 19, so in 18 they gave up a whole bunch of passing yards. In 19, what they gave up was they actually had the pass defense okay. It was running. Ohio State almost ran for like over 200 yards on Michigan. You cannot. This isn't like if you're going to let them be excellent at one, let them excellent at passing the football.
Yeah.
Let them get a lot of pass yards, but don't make them march down the field and do it.
Yeah.
Because if they're able to, I mean, Michigan should know this better than anyone. If you're able to bully people and hand the ball off and get 8 yards a pop, it's game over.
Well, you have to remember that was their loss. That was their loss against Michigan State. Was the fact that Michigan State was able.
Yes.
Was able to run the ball against them.
Maryland almost outgained Michigan last week. Now again, Michigan had the kickoff return for a touchdown and the interception return for a touchdown, and Michigan kind of just controlled the game anyway. I mean, they didn't need that to win the game. It just made it look really good. But listen, this is the toughest test for Michigan's defense by far. They are at home. You like that. I was pretty much done with the weekend review, so we'll just keep this. Oh, by the way, Pitt clinches the Coastal.
Wow.
Wake loses to Clemson, who had 333 yards rushing. Wake with a win tomorrow clinches the Atlantic and meets Pitt. If Wake loses and NC State wins, they're in. If both NC State and Wake lose and Clemson wins, Clemson's back for an 8th straight year. So
that's some weird stuff in the.
and Clemson's re-ranked this week at 23. Yep. Okay, so anyway, let's just continue right along there. I will give. Listen, we're gonna Black Friday, best college football. We've been over this already, so we're just gonna go down. We're just gonna chit chat about some games. This is gonna be really lax, sort of weak. We'll get really back into it next week for conference championship game. But Michigan, Ohio State, we both gave our takes. But Michigan, as a Michigan fan, here's what I expect. Michigan's going to come out. David Ajabo and Aiden Hutchinson, man, they're going to average. They're going to get 3-4 sacks combined. Hassan Haskins, Blake Corum, they're gonna rush for about 200 yards in this game combined. Cade McNamara, he's gonna take care of that football. Jake Moody and the punter, they're gonna have great special teams. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be cold. That it's gonna be loudest environment there. They're gonna be in maize. They're gonna be in some cool uniform looking outfit. I like that touch this year that Harbaugh's kind of thrown in, changing the uniforms game to game. They're just going to come out. They're tired of getting run over. They've gotten run over the last 2 years they've met. Ohio State's won 11 straight, 15-16. Michigan's last win, 2011 at home. They're coming. They're feeling it. They're going to come out focused. They're going to come out. They're going to pound Ohio State on the ground. Little play action. Ojabo going to get a sack. They're going to get a couple turnovers. And Ohio State's still going to win by 2 touchdowns. So that is clearly what I expect. Ohio State is minus 7.5. You take
figured out the whole damn thing from beginning to end like he was in the room.
You take Ohio State minus the 7.5. I think this is a 2-touchdown game. I don't think it's a blowout. I just think it's close for most of the game, and then Ohio State either pulls away late or Cade throws a untimely interception. Corum and Haskins fumbled the football as they haven't done all. Michigan will find a way to Michigan, and it'll end up being like a 2-touchdown game at the end. I like Ohio State minus the 7.5. I only got 3 games for you guys this weekend, by the way. The other game is Michigan, oh my goodness. Man, I wish we could play Michigan State over again, and because Michigan would probably win that game 9 out of 10 times if they did it again.
That's fair.
Penn State, Michigan State.
There you go.
Penn State's favored by 2. They're on the road. Here's the thing. Coming off a big loss, Michigan State, is going to play better. I think Sean Clifford is going to play. Again, it's the worst passing defense in the country. Michigan State, they have good rush defense, but they suck passing. Now you're going to ask Sean Clifford and Jahan Dotson, who's going to be a first-round pick at wide receiver for Penn State. You're going to ask just to cover them. Plus, they got Parker Washington. They got a good tight end. Their backs can catch. I assume Penn State's going to run enough just to keep them honest. I like Penn State minus the 2. They are favored on the road. I don't trust Michigan State's pass defense. And then in Bedlam, again, Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy is 2-14 against Oklahoma. This is basically Michigan and Ohio State in the Big 12. Oklahoma's been struggling to find their feet of late. They got punched in the mouth against Baylor a couple weeks ago, but I like Oklahoma to find a way to get it done on the road. Caleb Williams, Spencer Rattler. On that, I expect a low-scoring game, not a shootout of late. Oklahoma State plays real defense, but I expect next week, if it is a rematch, Oklahoma State to get the job done. So, those are my picks this week. At some point here, Samir, why don't you pull up the games? Why don't we talk about some games you're interested in? And we'll find a lock of the week for both of us. Let's just preview some games here. So those are my picks. Ohio State minus the points, Penn State outright, and Oklahoma outright. Again, I was 7-1 last week. I'm 44-27 on the week. You need to go make your bets. Make some money, people. Okay? Go do it. Oh, by the way, if you follow us on Instagram at 4th and 1 podcast, you would have taken Ole Miss last night and made some money. Ole Miss beat Mississippi State, got to 10-2, probably a New Year's 6 bowl game in. Now I lost my train of thought because I'm looking at the screen. Lost my New Year's 6 bowl game in Lane Kiffin's second year, which is huge for him and recruiting. With 2 losses, they go to 10-2, and they're ranked number 9. They'll probably finish around 7, my guess is.
there's a few good games here. Also, good job for Ole Miss. Also, Western Michigan beat Northern
Yes.
Illinois. Dude, the MAC has been all over the place
Mac.
this
So
year.
so what is
Also, everybody in the West is going to a bowl game this year. In the
Wow.
MAC West.
that is impressive.
Everybody has, I think, 7 wins. Most of the teams are like 7-4.
That's very impressive.
I was just looking at that.
Mac's a legitimate conference. Like no one's arguing that the MAC doesn't belong. It's just that the MAC is the M should stand for middle of the road or mediocre.
But they produce good talent. That's the weird thing.
They do, but it's like last time they were in a New Year's Six was row the boat a few years ago with Western Michigan. Now Western Michigan, they're overall
7-5.
They're 7-5 and they're 4-4 in their division, so they're at the bottom. It looks like they suck, but they
Yeah,
don't.
it looks like they suck, but they're 7-5 and they're putting up 370 points a game.
By the way, Michigan ran Northern Illinois. Didn't they crush Northern Illinois at the beginning of the year?
Yep. And they're 8-4. Like the fact that they're only 1 game difference between these schools in the West is just absolutely insane.
So it looks like it's going to be Northern Illinois and Miami of Ohio.
Yeah. And I called the Buffaloes at the beginning.
Well,
of
it
the
could be
season.
Kent. It could be Kent. Oh, I don't know the tiebreaker scenario. Anyway, so it's
tiebreaker
those
scenario,
two, which
is
me
interesting.
neither me or you called at the beginning of the season. I can let you know right now. All right. So what do we got on what's on tap today? It's starting here in 13 minutes. It is 11:47.
You want me to zoom in here?
Maybe just a tad.
That good? You can see?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right there. That's
Okay, cool,
excellent.
cool.
So let's start with that Big Ten game at 1:30, the Iowa at Nebraska game. All of Nebraska's losses this year, including last week to Wisconsin, have been by 9 points or less. Nebraska just can't they legitimately cannot find ways to win games. Nebraska, I believe, is favored in that game, yeah? Both by FPI if you are watching at home on YouTube.
The spread is 1 point.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a pick'em game, but FPI has the Cornhuskers winning. Listen, Iowa still can't throw the football. Nebraska plays solid defense. I'm not sure what the stats are, but yeah, I mean, they're averaging...
They're averaging
360.
223 yards in the air and 143 yards on the ground in defense. That's allowed.
So
yardage.
this is going to be a low-scoring game. But
Over-under
wait.
is 40.5.
Scroll down just a little bit there. I mean, look at Nebraska's last 5 games. All been losses. It was a 3-point game to Michigan, a 7-point game.
To Minnesota, a 5-point game to Purdue, a 9-point game to Ohio State,
Yep.
which is huge for them.
Yep.
And a 7-point game to Wisconsin.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying. I think Nebraska finally gets a win against rival Iowa this week. Iowa still can't throw the football. Their defense is good. It's going to be a low-scoring game. I think that this is a 20-17, 17-21, 14, maybe even 14-10. Nebraska plays legitimate defense. I'm taking the Cornhuskers here. Listen, I'm going to bet all these games with everyone. So I'm going to pull up my FanDuel and start a little bet going here. So
So you're taking the under too. The over/under is 40.
I mean, I would, if you don't want to take Nebraska out right here, I would if you wanted to bet on something else, I would say I would take the under.
Okay.
But I'm not going to bet the under. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, great.
So he's taking Nebraska. Some other games to watch is the 12 o'clock game on Fox, Texas, Kansas State. Interesting game. I'm not going to pull it up for you. San Diego State against Boise State. Look for an upset there. That's 12 on CBS. Don't care about Bowling Green, Ohio. Utah State looks to wrap up the Mountain West, but I don't care about that either. UAB UTEP, if you want to watch some mediocre football, go there on ESPN Plus.
I think that 7 o'clock game, again, we mentioned it before.
Yeah.
Click on that 7 o'clock ESPN game for me.
North Carolina,
yes.
North Carolina State, North Carolina
This,
rivalry game.
Again, rivalry game.
This will be a good game to watch.
North Carolina can't stop anyone on defense, but they can score on everyone.
So
And NC State has chance to win this to have a shot at winning.
3,000 yards and 31 touchdowns. NC State.
Yeah. Yes, I'm telling you, NC State is a very underrated team.
Oh, 62.5. Take the over. If that's at 65, that's a question.
But here's the problem. Look, scroll down. Look, they're only giving up 321 yards of offense. So NC State, yes, I understand points are going to be scored. I'm not arguing with that.
But look, their past, they're okay. NC State, this wasn't over against Syracuse. Wasn't over in this game. I'm just trying to do the math. Just barely over, just barely under. They're all close. I would take the 62.5 if we're talking betting here. Depending on what your odds are getting there, I'd take the under. I mean the over. You're gonna get probably better odds for the under, but I don't know.
No, yes, they're just slightly better. So you're gonna take the over.
I'm taking the over in this game. I'm going to see a musical tonight, so I'm not going to be able to watch this.
Ooh, little tippy toe action. What musical?
Oh, just Esther down at Sight and Sound.
Oh well,
Chris and Hannah. So that should be fun.
That's got to be fun. You know what? You talked me into it. I'm gonna be. North Carolina. Scroll down a little bit.
Yeah.
What have they done? Pittsburgh
lost to Pittsburgh in OT by 7. Win against Wake Forest by 3. That was a great game. Lost to Notre Dame by 10, and win to Miami by 3.
But have they hit 64 at any point? The
Miami,
Notre Dame,
Wake.
But in the last couple of weeks, they haven't?
No, not against Pitt, not against Watford, but
But NC State can score.
But NC State can throw the ball round.
Yeah, throw it round. All right, you know what? You talked me into it. I like NC State to win the game though, because they play better defense than North Carolina. Absolutely. Let's see.
TCU Iowa State should be a fun game to watch on Fox, but we're moving on. Yeah, it's rivalry week, so Washington State. That game does not matter, but should be interesting. Going down to Saturday. Should we go scroll through Saturday here real quick?
Yeah. Why not? We're a college football podcast. Worst podcast on the interwebs. What do we got here?
Wake Forest, Boston College at 12.
Houston, UConn. Okay.
All right, let's look at this. What game is this? Is on CBS Sports Network.
Imagine if Houston lost to UConn the week before they played. Cincinnati fans would be irate.
Livid. It's a 32-point spread.
I would take Houston minus the points there.
Over/under's 54 points.
Houston plays legitimate defense.
Apparently, UConn does too.
What? No, they give up. No, they don't.
450. Wait, that math doesn't work.
Why?
I guess it kind of does, barely. Oh my god!
Now we're trying to do math on the Worst podcast. Wait, I'm gonna bet that. I'm gonna take Houston minus the points.
Okay. Take Houston minus the points.
All right, Houston minus the points, 32.5. Got it.
Hey, but they beat Yale 4 weeks ago. Proud of them.
You know what? I am proud of UConn. Okay. Wait. You can click on that Wake Forest Boston College game again. We talked about this. Wake Forest
is gonna be interesting too. At 12,
they have to win this game. It's on the road. Wake Forest puts up points. Last week against Clemson, they only scored 28. First time all year they were held under 35.
Looks like Boston College is extremely consistent and even on both sides of the ball. Basically, we'll call it 168 yards, both sides, rushing and passing. Basically, we'll call it 175 if we're averaging them out on both, 180. Both passing and running the ball, so it's even. It's consistent. They're allowing 20 points a game. They're scoring 26. It could go either way. Obviously, Wake Forest is favored by 4.5 points. Over under 64. That's only because Wake Forest is in this game,
and Wake Forest sucks. They suck worse than they might be worse. I mean, they are worse than North Carolina. Here's the thing. It's 65.5 on FanDuel. FanDuel, hit us up. Give us some sponsor money, okay? how would you take that? Like, look at Wake Forest last couple of games. They've gone over with this every single time.
I mean, they're almost carrying the over by themselves. That's the problem with Wake Forest. That's why this game's at 64.
I mean, it was last week. It was
You were over.
It
You
was 70.
70.
It was 82. It was over 100 against North
Yeah.
Carolina. Duke. It
I
was
think you. The question is, can Boston College keep up?
well, but that's the thing. Wake Forest defense is so bad. I mean, how much they're giving up over 200 yards
They're
a
giving
game.
up 450. They're giving up 450 yards.
Right, but on the ground they're giving up 215.
Yeah.
And Boston College averages what? Buck 60.
Buck 65. Yeah.
So they're going over 200 there. Like that 165 number means that Boston College likes to run the football and be balanced. Boston College is going to move the ball and put up points.
I take the over.
I would take the over too because Wake
I
Forest
think-
clear in their last 5 games, it's been the over. If you take that 65 number, it's been over that entire time.
I take the over unless Boston College somehow gets Wake Forest to throw an absolute egg. You're almost safe.
Which isn't possible. If Clemson can't even get Wake Forest to throw an absolute egg and they give up 27 and Clemson has the best defense in the ACC, then it's just not going to happen.
Some other interesting games that I'm just checking out here.
Real quick, it's not interesting because no one's really going to watch except diehard fans. Florida State.
Worst meeting in their history.
Well,
of
no.
their rivalry.
For Florida, yes. Florida State, I think they're bowl eligible. It's a nooner game.
Here they are. They're on ESPN at noon.
So check this game out.
No, they're not. They will be bowl eligible if they beat Florida. Either
so,
team will be. They're both 5-6. So the winner of this becomes bowl eligible. And what did I say about Florida teams?
undisciplined.
Undisciplined.
But Florida.
That's why
Which-
Diaz,
Manny Diaz is
Manny
Miami.
Diaz is in Miami. That's why he's a good coach, and you want to keep him around, because the winner of Florida recruiting will end up being whoever has the most disciplined players. Because guess who the NFL likes? Disciplined players. So as soon as good Miami recruits start seeing some action and getting pay dirt up in the NFL, Manny Diaz is going to get all the recruits, unless Urban Meyer somehow comes back, which
I
he
can see it.
shouldn't.
No, he
I can
shouldn't,
see
but
it
I
too.
can see it.
We can again. I can see it too. I don't think he's going to, but he will get all the Florida recruits. We know it's a fertile breeding ground in Florida with all those crazies, but it's a 59-point over under at the 3-point spread. Florida is favored. They're also down a coach. I'm taking Florida State in this game.
I was just about to say the same thing. Florida State, they're on a 2-game win streak here. Their losses in the last 5 games for Florida State have been close losses to now ranked teams and the 2 best ranked teams in their division. Florida has been an absolute mess on pretty much both sides of the ball.
Only beating Samford by 8 points.
And they gave up 58 or whatever.
For Miami.
I like Florida State. It'd be a underdog win for Florida State, but I like the culture Mike Norvell has been instilling in this Florida State program. And Simeon,
I think it's the second best program. If these are up and coming businesses, and I'm putting money into these businesses, it's Miami 1, it's Florida State 2.
I disagree. I think it's Florida State then Miami, and here's why. Miami 3 years ago was in a New Year's Six game with Mike Rick. And ever since that Notre Dame game where they blew out Notre Dame, it was like 3 or 4 years ago. They blew out Notre Dame late in primetime television. It was Miami is back. Ever since then, they have been on a downward spiral. Florida State hasn't been relevant for 6 years now.
Sure. Well, this is the first time they went 0-4 the first time. And granted, they've won 2 straight comeback, but this is 0-4 first time since the 60s. I'm just saying I think Miami has a better chance if they jump on the recruiting classes, which they can. I don't know. I like Miami better, but that's just me coming out of it. What was another game you wanted to
What
look
else
at
we
here?
got? There's the Iron Bowl, Alabama at Auburn. Here's the thing: Auburn's just too beat up. Bo Nix is having surgery. Another high-profile player for them is having surgery. The over/under is 20.5. It's probably a little closer because Auburn's at home. Um, eh, Oregon State, right there. Stop.
Why are we looking at this game?
Because Oregon State has been quietly a great program this year. Oregon State is what, 7-4?
7-4, 5-3 in the conference.
This is the spread is 7. Oregon's going to be in a bad attitude, but Oregon State's got to feel pretty confident and also come in with a bad attitude.
They're pretty even teams.
They're
according
pretty
to the stats.
Pretty even teams around the board according to the stats. What's the last 5 games?
Sorry, just looking.
So
Arizona State, Stanford lost to Colorado.
So it's all
Notre Dame
gonna.
lost to
So Mario Cristobal this week laid into his offensive and defensive linemen this week and challenged them and to bow up. I think that this is an Oregon win, and it is. It's probably like a 7-point game. You can get it at 6.5 right now. So I would do Oregon either outright or you can do Oregon minus the 6.5.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be cool to see Oregon State kind of upset another team out west, but Wisconsin, Minnesota on Fox, 4 p.m. There's a lot of interesting games out
So
there.
a lot of the teams that have been hot lately, right, are on the road this week, which is kind of what you want if you're a rivalry weekend, you kind of want to have to be the home game here. The thing about Wisconsin still can't really throw the ball, but neither can Minnesota, and Wisconsin has the better defense. I think that's a Wisconsin win. Texas A&M and LSU, that's a quiet little game here. Texas A&M was beat up at the line of scrimmage last week against, or 2 weeks ago against Ole Miss. Kind of still recovering. LSU, I really haven't heard much of them. I don't even know how their season's going since Ed Ogeron's still there. I think it's at home. It's Ed Ogeron's last game. Who's favored in that? Go to that game real quick.
What, the Texas A&M LSU game?
Yeah.
Let's see. It looks like Texas A&M is first. They're seeking their first win against LSU since 1994.
What's the spread? Can you scroll down?
Yep. Spread is 6.5.
Ed Ogeron's last game.
Yep.
In the Bayou.
Mm-hmm.
It's LSU. LSU wins this game. Outright.
You think?
Yes.
I don't know. I'm really liking Texas A&M this year. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
You turned me around on them.
All right.
Also, Kentucky, Louisiana, in the Governor's Cup rivalry down in, just interesting. There are a lot of interesting. I mean, it's rivalry week, so wherever you turn, it's probably gonna be a pretty good game. You got BYU, who's somehow ranked 13th against USC. I don't know how.
We don't know how these things happen.
California versus UCLA. That should be a fun game. Notre Dame, Stanford, 8 p.m. on Fox. That's always a fun game.
So again, it's not a sexy slate. The sexiest games are the ones I gave you, right? Is Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State.
They're the nooner games.
Right. Is the Penn State, Michigan. You got one in each time slot, basically. Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Michigan State, and Oklahoma State. Those are going to be the on-paper exciting games. But again, Simeon said it. It's rivalry week. Everyone's excited for this.
It's sexy because of the drama that could happen as Makai coughs. Like that's what's exciting. Bless you. That's what's exciting this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch games all day as I normally do. But listen, we gave you 9 bets or so to bet this week. Now, listen, I'm only going to, for my official records, I'm only going to do the 3 that I told you about. Oh, did we find locks of the week? We need locks of the week in here, my man.
Hey, we could go view the worst actors of all time ranked in order.
That is true. How about we not do that and we find locks of the week for the people? We got to make these people money. I don't even know what your lock of the week was last week.
I don't even know what my lock of the week was last week. I kind of gave up. Okay. Lock of the weeks for me. Apparently, my mom's confused what this is.
Yeah, if
It's
anyone,
really not that hard. It's
we don't
the
seem to
lock
think so.
that I think is a lock to win. I'm giving you a bet that I think is a lock to win. So far, you should really follow my betting on on NFL games. I don't actually bet on NFL games, but like my picks on NFL games. That's more likely to make you money. If I actually had to guess here, but I like to make mine sexies. Like there's a chance that I'm not going to hit on them. That's what I've been trying to do. So like a really easy lock would be Liberty at 12 o'clock against Army. Liberty's probably going to win that game. You're not going to make probably a ton of money if we go over here, just to explain this at the end of the season to everybody.
Well, mostly just mom.
Yeah, you're probably not going to make a ton of money. You're going to make 70 cents on the dollar if you pick Liberty to win. They're a 3.5-point favorite against my boss's alma mater. So it is what it is. So I think my sexy lock of the week.
But again, the lock of the week, there has to be a chance that it doesn't work out, right?
Right.
Wait, you can't. For example, you can't pick. Well, there are no games like this week, but like last week, you can't pick Alabama to win against New Mexico State or whoever it was, North Tech. I don't even care, as your lock of the week, because yeah, obviously that's going to happen. There's got to be a chance of it. It can't happening that, but you're so confident in it that you're making it your lock of the week.
Lock of the week. Kind of want South Carolina to win. I'm not making it my lock. Do you have one here?
I was looking and I think my lock of the week, I think, honestly, I'm going to take it LSU beating Texas A&M.
Okay, that's a good lock of the week.
Yeah.
Good example.
Yeah, there we go. Great example. Like, it shouldn't happen on paper, but I'm so confident in it given the things above that. Oh, well, this is for the division. Miami of Ohio, Kent State is for the division to go to the championship game next week, the MAC championship game.
This is basically even at 65.5.
Yeah. Who?
Where is this game? It's
in Kent State.
Yeah, my lock of the week is going to be Kent State here.
Okay.
It's going to be 29 degrees in northern Ohio, outside of Akron. This was actually, I think you took Kent State to win the MAC.
Oh, okay. All right, great.
Funny enough.
Yeah.
So.
And what's the who is Kent State the underdog or
Kent State is the underdog.
Okay. All right. So Kent State, you're taking Kent State lock of the week. I'm taking.
You also won't make any money. It's plus 100. So
you'll
bet on this game.
Well, no, because you'll double what you get.
Oh, is that how that works?
Yeah.
Oh, if it's minus 100, you don't make any money.
Well, no, it's just like you get 90 cents on the dollar, so you still make money because you get all the money you bet back.
Got it.
So if you were to put $10 on Kent State, you would get the $10 that you bet back plus another $10 if they win. Okay. If you bet on Miami of Ohio, that's like 80 cents or something like that. So you would get the $10 you bet back plus the $8 you won. So you make $18, although you only make $8.
Right. That's how.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
This has been the 4th and 1 podcast live. Wash your hands, you filthy animals. My hands are actually dirty. That was loud. My hands are dirty because I changed my brakes this morning. But this has been the 4th and 1 podcast. Wash your hands, you filthy animals. Be kind to one another. We hope you had a great Thanksgiving yesterday and have a great college football weekend. Go check out the best college football games of the year, the Black Friday football games. Peace out. Love you guys. See ya.